So we continue with the beautiful Bala Leela of Krishna. We are now in a very wonderful episode, which is the famous Kaliya Mardana. We saw towards the end of the previous episode that the all the Gopas along with Krishna went to the banks of Yamuna. Only Balaram was not there that day. And when they all went and the boys drank the water, they all fell down literally dead, and so did the cows and calves. And then Krishna revived them all back to life by his yogic siddhi. And then Shuka Brahmam, as always, very briefly mentioned that it was because there was a serpent in the waters, and that serpent was subdued by Krishna and gotten rid of. So Parikshit naturally wanted to know, what is this serpent? What are we? Please tell me in great detail, who is the serpent? Why was he in Yamuna? And how did Krishna get rid of him? So Shuka Brahmam expands upon it in this episode. He tells that there was this great serpent called Kaliya who has 101 heads. He has one central head and 100 hoods. And with this 101 hoods full of poison, he came and settled in Yamuna, in one part of Yamuna, which is like a pool in the river. And he put out all his poison in this part of Yamuna that made the whole place poisonous. And it was becoming so poisonous that everything that was coming in contact in that part of Yamuna was dying. All the trees, creepers, all the aquatic creatures. And for the first time, boys went to that part of Yamuna, the cowherd boys, and they also were immediately killed by this, but they were revived by Krishna. So Krishna, deciding that he needs to get rid of this Kaliya, it is said he climbs up on a Kadamba tree, and from the Kadamba tree, he jumps into the water. When he jumps into the water, he makes a huge splash in the water that immediately Kaliya, who is inside the water, recognizes that someone is trying to enter his territory. So he comes with great anger. And what he sees there is this small boy who looks radiant. And yet this Kaliya thinks, how dare this little boy come and violate my territory? So he immediately goes to wrap Krishna with his coils, and he wraps him and he starts emitting all his poison, but none of this affect Krishna in any way, and yet he is wrapping him in his coils. Meanwhile, all the cowherd boys that are there, they are seeing this, and all they can see from the distance is they see that Krishna is being wrapped by the coils of this giant snake. He is looking as a small boy in comparison to the giant looking snake, and this snake is putting its coils around him. So seeing this, the boys are all very worried, because as we already saw, no matter how many opulences Krishna displays, the cowherd boys, the cowherd men, women, the parents, all of them instantly are made to forget all of this by Yoga Maya. They only look upon Krishna as their dear friend, dear son, dear beloved. So they are instantly worried about Krishna. They are almost fainting. Shuka Brahmam says all these boys are fainting, looking at what will happen to our Krishna. Meanwhile, the news reaches the village where Nanda and Yashoda are with Balaram, who didn't come as we saw. So they all come running as well to the banks of the river. Nanda and Yashoda come, all the senior, older men, women, all come running, hearing the story that Krishna is being enwrapped by the coils of this poisonous snake. And they see this again from a distance. And again, Nanda and Yashoda are all mortified, seeing that this huge snake is wrapping Krishna in coils. And therefore, they are also extremely worried. And Yashoda, who always is of the highest maternal love to Krishna, who always wants to protect him, who Even when Trinavrata took him away, she fainted. Now also she faints because she cannot even brook the sight of Krishna being in the coils of a snake. The only person who is absolutely unaffected by all of this is Balaram. Balaram sees all this. Balaram knows, of course, that Krishna is unaffected by any of this. He's just playing a Leela here. So he simply watches all this drama go on. And Krishna, it is said, for 1 hour, he didn't do anything. He was just letting this snake have its way and being caught in the coils of the snake and acting as if he is stuck there. And seeing all of this commotion happens on the banks of the river. And then finally, Nanda decides to enter the river because he thinks he has to go and protect Krishna. And when he attempts to do that, Balaram instantly stops him because Balaram knows all of this is just a Leela that Krishna is doing. But Nanda, if he goes inside, he will lose his life. And again, Krishna can, of course, revive him. But he just stops Nanda and all the other men to enter, saying, Krishna will take care of it. And then, after all this, Krishna finally starts moving. And when he starts moving, everybody is happy to see that he is still alive because they imagine all kinds of things out of their own innocent love. And when Krishna starts moving, then there is great joy and they want to see what Krishna is doing. See, here what is said is, Shuka Brahmam says, Krishna is always enhancing the joy of the gopis and the gopas. So, if Krishna immediately started subduing the snake Kaliya, that is one thing. But here, because Krishna gave this impression that the snake Kaliya is overpowering him, and they were all afraid of him, and then when he starts moving, the joy increases even more. See, when we have something and we take it for granted, but when we think we are about to lose it and then get it back, the joy increases even more. So Krishna executes every pastime in such a way that the joy of the gopis and the gopas and the listeners all increase. So that's why he is always referred to as Gopi Jana Vallabha. Here too, the gopis starting from Yashoda and Nanda are ecstatic now because they see that Krishna is well and alive and he is moving. And then Krishna starts his most famous Kaliya Mardana dance. He just jumps on top of the hood of the snake, and it is said that he starts literally expanding his weight. So Krishna is a small boy, but as we already saw in the episode of Trinavrata too, he increased his weight so tremendously that Trinavrata couldn't carry him. Here too, in a small size, he increased his weight so humongously that every foot he landed on the hood of the snake was crushing the snake, and he was dancing. So he was so beautifully dancing on the hood of the snake. He says, Akhila Kaladi Guru Nanartha. So the Akhila Kaladi Guru, the master of all arts, which is Krishna, he starts dancing, and it is said Shuka Brahmam beautifully describes how he would dance in rhythmic way. First he would step on every alternate hood, then he would, according to the rhythm of it, step on every third hood, then every fourth hood, then he would jump back and forth. The snake was absolutely crushed every time he put his hood. Blood was coming out of the hood by the foot of Krishna, and this snake was completely getting sucked out. All the poison was getting out. It was unable to do anything, and Krishna was just happily dancing. So this is why Krishna is also called Natavara. The name comes because of this very pastime, that he is expert dancer. So we know how Shiva is called Nataraj, and here Krishna is called Natavar. Both are expert dancers, and Krishna dances so beautifully on the hood of this snake. Kaliya Nartanam is also Kaliya Mardanam. And when he does this, finally it's seen that this snake is going to lose his life. And the snake itself, it is said, calls out to the Lord. because at this point, after all his powers are taken out, he is calling out to the Lord, Narayana, without recognizing that it is Krishna who is Narayana himself. It says, Smritva charachara gurum purusham puranam Narayanam tam aranam manasa jagam. So this Kaliya, we'll see the symbolism of who this Kaliya is as well. But right now this Kaliya is remembering Narayana, Smritva Narayanam. So when he remembers Narayana, already he is rid of all his sins, and his wives, it is said, the Nagapatnis, they also come and they offer a beautiful prayer. They tell Krishna that please leave him. He has done whatever he has done completely out of ignorance, and your anger is only grace. It is only because of grace that you even show anger. They say, Krodho api te anugraha eva sammatah. It is only because you want to bestow grace that you show anger. Anytime we see any rasa from Krishna or any avatar, it is all only for bestowing grace. So in this case, the Nagapatnis say correctly that whatever you are displaying by crushing him is actually the highest grace, because first of all, he is rid of all his poison, he has realized his ignorance, and more than that, he is getting the contact of your lotus feet. The dust of your lotus feet is on his head. What greater fortune can he get? So your dance on top of his head is a direct bestowing of grace through your lotus feet. And once one comes in contact with your lotus feet, they say then nothing else matters. They say the one who gets that devotion, gets that contact, they do not want heavenly regions, they do not want yoga siddhis, they do not want liberation, because everything is there in just that surrender unto your lotus feet. They say, Nanaka prishtam achasarva bhaumam na parameshtyam na rasadhipatyam na yoga siddhir apunarbhavam va vanchanti yad pada raja prapannaha. Pada raja prapannaha means, raja means the dust. Pada raja means the dust of the lotus feet. Prapannaha, the one who have surrendered to the dust of your lotus feet, they do not want anything else. He says, Nanaka prishtam, not any heavenly region, na sarva bhaumam, not controlling of all of earth, na parameshtyam, not any supreme abode, na yoga siddhir, not any yogic siddhis, na apunarbhavamva, not even the so-called freedom from the cycle of birth and death, because the very false sense of individuality that is at the root of thinking that one goes through the cycle of birth and death is removed by the contact with your lotus feet, and therefore they do not want anything. And then they offer a set of beautiful prayers, these Nagapatnis. Namastubhyam Bhagavate Purushaya Mahatmane Bhutavasaya Bhutaya Paraya Paramatmane Jnana Vijnana Nidhe Brahmane Ananta Shaktaye Agunaya Avikaraya Namaste Aprakritaya Cha Kalaya Kalanabhaya Kala Vayasa Sakshine Vishwaya Tat Padrishte Tat Kartre Vishwahetave Namo Anantaya Sukshmaya Kotastaya Vipaschite Nanavada Anurodhaya Vacha Vacha Shaktaye. Every verse is so beautiful. These Nagapatnis offer the prayers of who is Krishna, Jnana Vijnana Nidhaye, the one who is the abode of pure wisdom and realization, Brahmane Ananta Shaktaye, the supreme Brahman who is of infinite prowess, Agunaya Avikaraya, one who is beyond all gunas and all changes, Namaste Aprakritaya, one who is beyond Prakriti, Kalaya Kalanabhaya, one who holds time itself in his navel, that is, one who is the source of all of time and one who is the witness of time, one who is infinite, Namo Anantaya Sukshmaya, one who is the most subtle. Every prayer here is so beautiful. They go on to say, Namah Krishnaya Ramaya Vasudeva Sutaya Cha Pradyumnaya Aniruddhaya Satvatam Pataye Namaha. So with these prayers, Nagapatnis propitiate Krishna, and then Krishna tells these Nagapatnis, your prayers are accepted, and tell this Kaliya that you just go out of here, out of these waters. Do not poison the waters of Yamuna ever. Get out of here with your wives and be in a safe place. And this Kaliya also offers his obeisances and apologizes for all the transgressions he has done thus far. And with the costless mercy of Krishna being bestowed on him, he leaves. And then Krishna clears the water. The water is again rendered pure. And Krishna comes to the shore to the great joy of all the Gopas and Gopis. Yashoda and Nanda take him, hug him. Yashoda immediately hugs him and does whatever she does always to remove all the evil spirits on Krishna. The sweet mood of Yashoda always continues regardless of whatever she sees. And in this way, this beautiful pastime of Kaliya Mardana is completed. Kaliya is subdued and Yamuna is rendered pure again. So this is the beautiful episode, and the symbolism of this is that Kaliya, who's got 101 heads, it is said, one central hood and 100 heads. The one central hood represents the mind, and the 100 other hoods represent the 10 senses which go in 10 directions. So there are 10 senses as we saw in Sankhya Yoga too, 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnanendriyas. And there are 10 directions, the 4 primary cardinal directions and the 4 northwest, southeast, northeast, southwest, and then up and below. They include together 10 directions. And when the 10 senses go in 10 directions, that is 100. And so the mind that is caught in simply going out through the senses engages in all these 100 ways to gratify itself, to cause harm to others in the process, to only look for what is in it for me, and thereby spread the poison of the ego everywhere. And that is what this Kaliya represents. And Yamuna, the pure water, is rendered poisonous, which is life itself. Yamuna represents water always is life. Life is made poisonous when the ego, with all the senses engaged for gratifying the ego, is only the primary motive of living. And when that is the case, then all these calamities happen. So Krishna, that's why, subdues the senses, subdues the mind and subdues the senses. And when the same mind surrenders, as the Nagapatnis surrendered and the Kaliya himself remembered the Lord, then he is let go, because the surrendered mind is not anymore poisonous. So that's why Kaliya is subdued and let go. This is the symbolism of Kaliya Mardana. And this is also the work of the Guru. So that's why today, being Guru Purnima, it is quite appropriate that the very act of Guru is to subdue the mind and to make the mind surrender. When we recognize that the mind along with the senses are only an expression of the divine, and they are not meant for gratifying the false sense of separation, but they are simply meant to be offered to serve the Lord, then true wisdom awakens, and we are not caught in this false identification which causes suffering for oneself and for others. So that is the unique grace of Guru, who has come in many forms. And here, as Krishna, he teaches the same here through this incident symbolically. And later, as we know in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the Gita Acharya who teaches the entire wisdom of being free of the ego in the most elaborate manner. And that is why we have this famous verse which says, Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So Krishna is the Jagadguru who both through his pastimes as we see here and through his teachings as in the Bhagavad Gita or in Uddhava Gita that comes later in Bhagavatam itself, he teaches the highest wisdom. So on this day of Guru Purnima, it's a great fortune to listen to this episode of Kaliya Mardana and to also honor the Guru who is within us as well all the time and who comes in various wonderful forms and who bestows the eternal wisdom of true love and true peace within.